Hi everyone, this is Natasha here from the Nextwork team, and today we will be turning our data into an AI chatbot. Now you might be thinking, what does that even mean?
Hi everyone.
So what we're going to be doing today is a new technique called RAG. Oh, I just realized I might have been echoing there. So today we will be building an AI chatbot using a technique called RAG and an AWS service called Amazon Bedrock. Now, if you're completely new to RAG, if you're completely new to Amazon Bedrock, just know there's no worries at all. We are going to be doing everything step by step together today. So shall we start? Okay, I'm really excited. If you haven't seen RAG or Amazon Bedrock in action before, just know that both of them create some amazing results by turning your data. So for example, I've put in some data about myself into some really well written responses. So this is an example of a RAG chatbot where I've put in a few documents about projects that I've done. And then straight away, after you've set up your chatbot in Bedrock, now your chatbot can start really just responding like it's an expert about you and the documents that you've uploaded, which is pretty fun. So this technique is called RAG. It's called Retrieval Augmented Generation, and it is a way to train an AI chatbot on your personal documents. I would say if you're curious about RAG, just know that RAG is it's a great use case when you want an AI model to not be influenced by its training data, to not be influenced by what's online, and to only answer based on the documents that you give it. So here, you can think of it as RAG is this technique that lets you take this AI model's brain, like its ability to turn data into, well-structured responses to you. But then you put that brain and install it into like your documents, your own documents. So you kind of like lift it away from ChatGPT and you say, okay, like you are no longer going to be responding as ChatGPT or as like all of these training data that you had. Now your training data is going to be my information. And it really becomes an in-house expert once you give it the time to train on your own documents. RAG is definitely being used today to create customer support chatbots. That is a really popular use case of RAG. But you can also use RAG to create your personal research assistant, an advanced way to search your documents, and you're going to see this in action in this project. So we're going to get ready to build a powerful RAG chatbot from scratch in Amazon Bedrock. And then we're going to create a knowledge base, which is basically the place that holds all of the documents that you want your chatbot to know about. And then we're going to use a few services like Amazon S3 and OpenSearch to manage your chatbot's data. This is completely beginner friendly, by the way. So if this is intimidating at all, just know that we'll be going through all of this step by step together as well. And finally, we of course get to test and refine that chatbot together too. Cool. Now, like every other project demo, we will be following the high touch guide today. But you can definitely do low touch or no touch if you want to challenge yourself a little bit and do this project with less guidance. All right, shall we get started? Okay, so here's the overview of what we're building today. You're about to build a chatbot that's trained on your personal documents. And when you send a message to that completed chatbot, 3 things are going to be happening behind the scenes. The chatbot is going to use an AI model to understand your question and figure out what information it needs to understand it. So you're asking your question, and in your chatbot, there's an AI model, and this AI model is going to try to understand, okay, what was that question about? You can ask about the weather. Is the question about their documentation? Is the question about AWS? What is the question about? And then your AI model is going to go look for that information inside the knowledge base. So this knowledge base is also something you build inside Bedrock. And this knowledge base is going to store all of the documents you've already told your chatbot to know about. So imagine if your knowledge base was storing like all of your project documentation. Then when you ask a question about, hey, what is the project I've done on Bedrock? Then your AI model is going to go search for projects related to Bedrock inside your knowledge base, and your knowledge base is going to pass back some results. These results are not going to look very pretty. They're going to look like exact text extracts from your document. It's going to be like paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text. Then your AI model is going to go, whoa. Okay, it ingests all of this data, all of this text that your knowledge base just gave it, and then convert all of it into a lovely chat response to give it back to you. So that's going to be the flow of, from you to your chatbot, and within that chatbot, there's the AI model and the knowledge base. But how in the world are we going to build this? Where do you even start? So for our chatbot, we're going to start by building the knowledge base, so this part here, and then we're going to go into the AI model, and then we'll sync up the knowledge base with some documents that you would have stored in S3 before you can finally start to test this whole thing. So this is actually the completed and the final architecture diagram. If you're new to architecture diagrams, just know that it's really just a visual representation of the flow of data and information, around this thing that you're going to build. So for us, we have the knowledge base to happen first, and then we're going to pick the best AI model for our chatbot. And then we're going to do some syncing of data from, your raw documents into the knowledge base before we test that whole thing. You might notice there's a sneaky little service here called OpenSearch. And this is something that happens this is something that will come up when you build your knowledge base as well in the first 3 steps. Okay, so I hope we're feeling ready. I hope we're feeling excited. Let's go into it and start this project. Oh, just realized I did not copy this. RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, is an AI technique that lets you train an AI model on your own personal documents. In this project, we will demonstrate RAG by setting up a RAG chatbot in Amazon Bedrock. Very cool. That's what we're here to do today. So let's select done and let's keep on going. Cool. Now we're going to set up, a knowledge base. So to kick things off in Bedrock, let's create that knowledge base. It's also called a K-base for short, but we'll just say knowledge base for now. And I would say a knowledge base really acts like your chatbot's personal library. It stores all the information your chatbot will need to answer the questions that you might have. So I'm going to start off simple and just create this knowledge base in Bedrock. In this step, we will create a knowledge base in Bedrock. We need this knowledge base because it stores all of the information that our chatbot is supposed to know. Okay, so to do that, we're going to start by signing into AWS. Okay, so log in to your AWS Management Console as your IAM admin user. That's what I've done over here, so you can see that I'm logged in now. Okay, very nice. And the first thing you're going to do before you really jump into any of the services is to make sure you're in the right region. And for us, we're going to need to make sure we're in the Ohio region, which is also called US East 2. So regardless of wherever you're based, it could be far away from Ohio, but we're going to be picking Ohio anyway because the Ohio region is the region that has all of the features we're going to be using in this project. Other regions, from Sydney to Ireland, don't actually offer all the features we need to use. So I I would say the reason for this is because the data centers in those regions might not have the hardware required for some advanced AI models. At the end of the day, running AI models takes a lot, takes a big toll on your servers. So if it's not available in a certain region, it could be because of that, or it could be because AWS just wants to roll out some new features in certain regions first, and it's usually Ohio or Oregon that they really like, and then they'll eventually make it available globally. Okay, cool. So in the search bar at the top of the console, let's type Amazon Bedrock. All right, so let's put Amazon Bedrock over here, and let's click into it. Oh, I really like this definition of Bedrock in the search bar. Do you see that? I might just go back into the search bar so we can see it again. The easiest way to build and scale Gen AI applications with foundation models. Pretty good. Yeah, that's awesome. And as you can see, foundation models are right here. But for us, we're going to be going into a specific builder tool called knowledge bases. Okay, very nice. Okay, so just now we saw that Amazon Bedrock is defining itself as a place to build Gen AI applications. And for us, how you can think about it to start with is you can think about it as a platform to build Gen AI applications, but how? It's because Amazon Bedrock is like an AI model marketplace. You go into Bedrock to find different kinds of AI models from the top companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, everything in one place. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. Because developers would usually need to sign up separately for each AI service, manage all of these API keys that connects them with the model that they want to use, and then have to do a bit of managing to make sure the right key is in the right application, and if the key updates, they update, the key in their application as well. With Bedrock, you can just manage all of these different AI models in one place. From testing the AI models to using them in your apps for different tasks, it's a lot more streamlined. It's kind of like having to imagine if you had to go to the fish market to get fish, and then the veggie market to get veggies, and then a certain pharmacy to get medicine, but then you can go to the supermarket, which has everything in one place. And that's kind of what Amazon Bedrock is like for all of these AI models. So in Bedrock, you see how it says it's a great place for building Gen AI applications. That's also because you can train your AI models on your own information, which is how we're going to be building our chatbot today. That process is called RAG. And we're going to be creating, essentially once your AI model is trained on your data, it's your own custom model now that can respond based on the documents you uploaded. So without further ado, let's go into the knowledge base and click create in the top right and start creating it. Okay, cool. Amazon Bedrock is an AWS service that makes it easy to build generative AI applications. Bedrock, this is because Bedrock is like an AI model marketplace that lets us find, use, and test models from different providers in a central place. We're building, I would say we can stop here. Or you can say it's like an AI model marketplace that lets us find, use, and test models from different providers. We're using Bedrock in this project to create a knowledge base. All right, all done. Okay, so we're gonna click create in the top right once you're in that knowledge base page. And I'm zoomed in so it doesn't look very, very clear. But maybe like this. There we go. And we're gonna select a knowledge base with a vector store. All right, okay. So we're getting started with creating the knowledge base now. And if you're wondering, what was vector store? What does that mean? You are not alone. Think of a vector store as an advanced way to search for information. So here's how it works. If you decide that you want to search, I want a book about machine learning, you can have a traditional search, which is like a librarian that's going to say, okay, like let me go into all of the books that have the words machine and the words learning in it. Here are all of the books, have fun. A vector store will help you find books with the word machine and learning inside it, so maybe the same result as the traditional search. But it also has more. It's also going to find books about neural networks, deep learning, AI algorithms, books that might not necessarily say machine learning, but talk about related things. This is because a vector store understands the meaning behind your requests. It's not just the specific keywords in your request. It's also about like, oh, but what do the words mean? Oh, machine learning. What are some things related to machine learning? Now, if you ever want to expand on a concept and want to see another example, let's try using the ask feature. So let's ask, can you give me another example of traditional search versus vector store? Ooh, interesting. Imagine you're searching for a recipe for chocolate cake. A traditional search would only find recipes that have the exact words chocolate cake in them. A vector store would understand the meaning of your request and find recipes that might not say chocolate cake, but still contain related ingredients, like chocolate, cocoa powder, and cake batter. This is because vector stores understand the meaning behind your requests, not just the words. Well, that was an excellent example. Thank you very much. And, this note is now yours, so you can also have fun with formatting it however you like. It's quite fun, isn't it? So, yum. All right. Cool. So under the knowledge base name, we're going to enter Nextwork RAG documentation, and then we're going to give it a cool little description as well. This knowledge base stores all documentation at Nextwork. Ooh, that gives us a hint around what's inside here. We haven't actually set up the documents yet, as you might have noticed. So we're going to do that very soon. Okay, so we're going to keep our IAM permissions. We're going to keep the data source to Amazon S3. And then we're going to click next. But before we do that, just wanted to make a big shout out to everyone in the chat here. Thank you so much for saying hi. And Anita, thank you so much. Just love your explanation. Thanks a lot, Natasha. That's so sweet. Can we integrate an AI chatbot on a live database? Absolutely, you can actually. So this is, I think, a perfect place to talk about it, because you have your data source for your knowledge base. And Suraj, you might notice that you have customer relationship management tools like CRMs. You can use SharePoint. I would say this one, creating a custom data source directly, might be the closest bet that we have for connecting a database with Bedrock. In the meantime, though, it does mean that usually just having distinct objects like Amazon S3 in an object would be the common way to build your knowledge base. The reason for that is because you actually need to constantly sync your data to your knowledge base, Suraj. So we're going to see this later on in the project, but it doesn't do live syncing, not that I know of. So that's probably something to consider if you're wanting to connect it to a database. Oh, nice! We got Tony in the house. Hey, Tony. Great to see you. You've been making a great start with projects lately. We got Happy. Thank you so much for asking this question. It's not related to the project, Happy, so we're not going to spend too much time on it right now, but you can totally ask this in the community. And a data engineer usually does still have technical interviews. We can definitely expand on this in the community, though, if you don't mind checking out the community and saying hi there. Salim Abbas, thank you so much for saying it's a great live session. And yeah, hi to everyone that's saying hi in the chat. That's so sweet. I got tongue-tied there. Okay, so IAM permissions basically just says Bedrock, you will have permission to the documents that we give you. Because if you don't say this explicitly, like you don't give it permission, then it'll be very, very sad if Bedrock is trying to just get access to your documents to put it in the knowledge base, but it wouldn't get access. So of course, we're going to just let AWS automatically create that permission setting for us. And then under data source, we're going to pick S3, which is like the simplest way to put documents into your knowledge base. So you can upload documents directly into your knowledge base, and that's the custom option. But we're going to pick S3 because that's the best practice, and also because it is a much better way to manage your documents compared to uploading manually into another, into like Bedrock. And Bedrock is not really designed to be a storage service. So it's like document management features will not be nearly as good as S3. Yeah. So once you're done, let's click next. And you're going to notice that we're going to need to pick a data source now. Interesting. So on the data source name, we're going to replace that placeholder to something that's a bit more recognizable. S3 bucket, Nextwork, RAG, Bedrock. All right, that seems like a much more straightforward name than what it was before. And then we're going to click on Browse S3. Oh, okay, so you might be noticing now that we actually don't have, we haven't picked, like, we haven't actually created the bucket that contains all of the documents. So we're going to need to do that next. And this is what we're going to explain in our documentation too. So our knowledge base is connected to S3 because S3 is going to be the storage place of our knowledge base's documents. The storage or the source for our knowledge base's raw documents. S3 is AWS's storage service where you can store all kinds of objects. For example, videos, documents, I would say audio, in the same bucket. Nice. Okay, so nice for kicking off your knowledge base. As a recap, what we've learned so far is that a knowledge base is like a personal collection of documents that your chatbot is going to use to answer its questions. We haven't actually put together that collection of documents yet, so we're going to need to do that. Let's jump into the next step where we store the documents our chatbot's going to need to know in S3. Okay? S3 is truly a simple and easy to use storage system in AWS. So we're going to set it up. And you're going to notice that it's super straightforward. So no need to panic, no panicking, no worries if S3 is new to you. Shall we jump into it? In this step, we will jump into S3 to store our documents. These are the documents that makes up our chatbot's knowledge. i.e., all the information They're supposed to know. All done. Okay, so in a new tab, we're gonna head to the S3 console. Make sure you're using a new tab because we don't want to cancel your progress with Bedrock, do we? So let's open this in a new tab. And I realize I'm in the wrong region. Oh my gosh, I'm in the Oregon region. It should be Ohio, as I mentioned literally in step 1 of this project. So I'm gonna just switch over to Ohio within the Bedrock console too, which is actually gonna override some of the stuff that we've done. But that's okay. That's what the guide is here for. You know, it's gonna be quick and easy to set it up again. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly enter our knowledge base name and description. Oh no. We keep these. Next, data source name. Data source name here. Okay, and then browse S3. Okay, we're at the right place now. We're in the right region, Ohio, and we have set up our knowledge base, or at least the first page of it. So now we're going to go into S3 finally and be in the right region, Ohio. Thank goodness. So now we're in Ohio and we are going to create our bucket. Nice. Welcome to Amazon S3 and let's create that new bucket. So for your bucket name, enter a unique name and you can use Nextwork, Rag, Bedrock, and then enter in your initials here. So if your initials are like TB for Tony's name, or you can be like Salim, so it would be like SA. I'm just going to use the generic Nextwork, Rag, Bedrock, and then I would say make sure, actually just double check that you're still in the Ohio region. And that's because when you are using Bedrock, you need to notice that Bedrock is actually a regional service, which means the data that it uses needs to be in the same region as the thing that you're building here. So in our case, what we're building is a knowledge base, and because of that, the data that goes into our knowledge base needs to be from the same region. That's the reason why when you look at this panel here, it only actually shows you buckets that's in the same region, in the Ohio region. It's not gonna show you buckets that are in like Sydney or in like other regions where you might have set up a bucket. Okay, so now that that's done, let us create our bucket. We're just gonna keep all of these default settings here and just go straight into creating it. And then in our bucket, you're gonna see, let me find my bucket. And we're gonna upload some documents now, which is gonna be pretty fun. I really like this part. So once you've clicked into your bucket, select upload, and then you're gonna download the zip file with 10 documents inside. You can use these 10 files to build your knowledge base. So this can be, the knowledge that your chatbot is gonna have. If you want to use your own documents for the knowledge base, you definitely can. That is the beauty of RAG. You can upload anything you want your chatbot to know. So if you want your chatbot to know your personal documents, your personal files, this is your chance to go and find those documents and then upload them into your S3 bucket instead. For us, we're just going to use these documents that are provided by the project guide. So what you're going to need to do once you've downloaded the zip file, as you might notice my zip file is here now, you're going to need to open the zip file and then click into the folder to double check you have everything inside. Nice, and look at that. Yep, as you might guess, these files are all documentation of Nextwork projects. Pretty cool, eh? So you can take your time to explore and enjoy some of these projects, read up about some of these projects at Nextwork in the meantime too. Okay, so once you've downloaded your files, you can select upload, add files, And this is where you can click into your folder and just select all the files like this. Okay, cool. So we're going to select upload to upload all those files. Okay, we're going to wait for the files to finish uploading just to make sure that nothing's gone wrong there. So while we wait, we're going to take a screenshot of the files getting uploaded. Shall we do that? Nice. Let's do this and upload that into our documentation. In an S3 bucket, we uploaded the documents that will make up our chatbot's knowledge. Our S3 bucket is in the same region as our knowledge base because Bedrock is a regional service. Data must live in the same region as the Bedrock resource. In our case, that Bedrock resource is the K-base. Nice. So confirm that all your files have uploaded. Whew, that looks good. And it looks like we did that in perfect timing too. Once that's done, you can finish setting up your knowledge base. So let's finish setting it up and make sure we select S3 as our data source for the knowledge base too. In this step, we will finish setting up our knowledge base back in the Bedrock console. Cool. So let's head back into your Bedrock tab where you are setting up your knowledge base. And this is the screen that we left off at. What we're going to do now is we're going to click on that refresh button. Oof. And hopefully our data source is going to come out. I hope it is in the right region. I'm pretty sure we double checked. It is in Ohio. Good. So let us click into Browse S3 again, refresh. It's not coming out. This is the part where our bucket is supposed to come out. But it seems like it's not refreshing yet. So maybe I can go to previous, click next again, browse S3, and it's back. All right, very, very good. So let's click into our bucket and choose it. Done. So now we have connected our S3 bucket with Bedrock, and Bedrock is definitely going to be grabbing all of that data inside our S3 bucket and making it AI model, or like, I would say chatbot friendly in a second. We're gonna go into what that means soon. For now, let's finish setting up the knowledge base itself. We have a few key terms that's gonna come up. It's gonna feel a little bit like, oh, like it's a bit of a strange word, isn't it? But we're gonna go through what they mean. So a parsing strategy is another setting that you can have in your data source. And a parsing strategy is about how Bedrock is gonna process your data. The default parser basically means it automatically detects and extracts text from common file formats like PDFs, Word docs, and text files. It extracts only text, okay? But the foundation model parser, which is this one, this option uses AI models to scan other things that might be in the file, other than text. So images, tables, headers, complex formatting. Technically, this foundation model parser will be an even better parser for our documents because our documents contain images, as you might notice. We've got images here. We've got lots of different kinds of headers and settings here, and formatting here. But this parser is a bit more complex it's slower to work, and it does come at an additional cost. So we're just going to keep the default setting, which is the default parser for now. And then you've got chunking. Chunking is just such a funny word to me, but in this context, chunking is basically the process of breaking down large text into smaller text. It's not about deleting words. It's about literally splitting the text up into smaller chunks. AI models do have a limit on the amount of text they can process at once, which is why chunking is so helpful. Because imagine if you have documents with 2,000 words in them, and you put the entire document in S3, and then from S3 you connect it to knowledge base. And then you ask your model something to do with that document. Because if you don't chunk, and that entire 2,000 word document is in there, it's going to need to go through the entire 2,000 word document and read every single bit to figure out like a proper answer for you. That is a lot of processing work. Chunking means the moment you split the document into 300 word paragraphs, now when you ask your chatbot a question, it can actually find first which 300 word paragraph is most relevant to this query, and then read that chunk instead. That way you can skip this process of having to read the entire thing, which would be a much lengthier and much more expensive process. Hi to everyone, by the way. Thanks so much for stopping by. So we're gonna just go for the default chunking strategy, but there's a lot of different ways you can chunk, just based on your use case. Default chunking usually just works, but let's say you really want your AI models to be detailed. You can go for smaller tokens, like even smaller bits of text, and that would mean that it's less likely to miss details, because it's going to have to go through each chunk and analyze it specifically. I hope that made sense. Overall, just think of parser as the scanning of the data and chunking as the splitting of the data. And then we're going to go next. Now we're going to select the embeddings model. Just go straight into this one and select Titan Text Embeddings V2. So embedding is a final step, basically, in the processing of your data once Bedrock grabs it from S3. So Bedrock grabs the data from S3. It's going to first parse through it to find the text. Next, it's going to chunk it to split up your text. And then it's going to embed it with an embedding model. This embedding model goes through a crazy process to turn your words, your text, into a series of numbers. And that series of numbers is supposed to represent the semantic meaning of your text. And that's why it's called a vector store. I know previously we said the vector store is basically a way to search that also searches based on semantic meaning. It can do that because the vector store actually stores a series of numbers, which are vectors, that are related to the meaning of each chunk of text. So this model is responsible for doing that. It's responsible for creating that list of vectors, that list of numbers. How it does it is a very cool story, honestly. I love this process of embedding. It would stretch this project out by a lot, so we won't go into that in detail in this project. But if you are interested in knowing about embedding, you can always say, ask, what is the process of embedding? How do words turn into numbers? You can ask that and learn more from here. Okay, so I hope you enjoy using the Ask feature as much as you'd like to explore. Anything you're curious about, ask it. Cool. We're going to go back into this question. I just don't want us to break our flow yet because we were looking at embeddings. So we have our embeddings model done, and then we have our vector database, which is basically saying, okay, you want to use a vector store, which is a way to search based on the semantic meaning of the words. Where is that database going to be? Now you might say, let us use like a vector store that you've already created. In our case, we're just going to ask AWS to set up that vector store for us. So we're going to use the default setting, which is Amazon OpenSearch Serverless. And this is another service. Okay. Whoop. And this is another service that is basically like a search engine. OpenSearch Serverless is going to be the actual service that will be storing all of the process data. So once Bedrock actually, again, parses, chunks, and embeds, that embedded, chunked, parsed data, where does that go? It doesn't store inside Bedrock. As we said before, Bedrock is not really a storage service. It has to be stored somewhere else. S3 is not the best place to store it because of the way S3 works. It works in like objects, and these objects are like a bit harder to search through very, very quickly. So what you want is actually another service called OpenSearch Serverless that's kind of like designed to store data in this way. So you would put all of that process data into OpenSearch Serverless, and then that means that serverless is our vector store. Later on, when you ask your chatbot a question, what's happening behind the scenes is Bedrock is going to go inside this vector store, and then that vector store is going to be responsible for finding the correct piece of data that's related to your question. Cool. I know we just went through a lot of concepts in a short period of time. So if you'd like us to explain something again, add it to the chat, add it to the comments, and we'd be so happy to. You can also use the Ask feature as well if you'd like to expand on something. Okay, so let us answer the questions here. So chunking is the process of splitting up text into smaller pieces, i.e. chunks, in our knowledge base. Chunks are set to, do you know what they're set to? About 300 tokens in size. Okay, so chunks are set to be about 300 tokens in size each. Chunking helps with searching for data more efficiently in the vector store. So that was a nice little tidbit of data or insight that we can add to our documentation. Nice. All right, and let's talk about embeddings next. So embeddings are vector representations of representations of the semantic meaning of a chunk of text. Nice. The embedding model we're using is Titan Text. Embeddings v2. Because, do we talk about this properly? Well, I just realized I don't think we really talked about it. So Titan Text Embeddings v2 is Amazon's own embedding model. So Titan is like Amazon's own series of AI models, and Text Embeddings v2 is fast, accurate, and it also is very, very cheap. So we're gonna go with this one today. So you might be wondering, oh, did you just say cheap? affordable, what's going on here. This project is using Bedrock, which doesn't offer like a free tier. So it will cost about, the last time I ran this, it costed about 1 cent to do the entire project. 1 cent USD. And if that worries you, just know that we will be deleting all of the resources together by the end of this project, so that cost will definitely cap at 1 cent. If 1 cent is like more than how much you were hoping to give to this project, we recommend like still following along, this project over YouTube or by entering your learnings in the project guide. But definitely it is something that we personally recommend to try this hands-on in the AWS console as much as you can. Awesome. Great. So now that we have gone through embeddings, we've gone through chunking, let's also talk about why we're using OpenSearch Serverless as your vector store. My knowledge base, or our knowledge base, uses a vector store, which means a search engine or a database that stores data based on their semantic meaning. When we query our knowledge base, OpenSearch will OpenSearch will find the relevant chunks of data based on I didn't want to repeat myself too much. Saying based on their semantic meaning is a bit of repetition. I would say, well, when we query our knowledge base, OpenSearch will find the relevant chunks of data to the query and passes it to Bedrock. We have Salim saying good night. Good night. Hope you have a great evening. Hello to Dexter. And we also have UIVY. Ooh, saying hello. How are you? It's been a while. Good to see you. That's awesome. Okay, so once we've set that up, we can click next and finally finish up our knowledge base setup. Whew, thank goodness. So here you can review your setup, and we can go through this checklist together. First, let's check your knowledge base's name. It really should be like Nixwork, RAG, documentation. That's the name we put in together. And then we have your data source. Confirm that your S3 bucket is selected. So S3 bucket, Nixwork, RAG, Bedrock. Do we have that document? The name is correct. And our data source name is here. Very good. So we have those ticked. What else do you think we should check for? All right, next up is the embeddings model. Did you check that is Titan Text Embeddings v2? And for our vector store, let's confirm that we've told AWS that we wanted to quick create a new vector store for us. So let us find Titan Text in our embeddings model. That's great. And then for our vector store, quick create vector store. All done. And we are using OpenSearch. Cool. I'm just going to check the chat for a few comments. Thanks so much, everyone, for jumping in. Cool. All right. Let's create the knowledge base now. I'm so excited, everyone. Oh, okay. We're supposed to take a screenshot of the knowledge base review page. So let's just make sure I take a screenshot of this before this page jumps away once the knowledge base is done creating. So let's take a screenshot of that. Very nice. Ooh, I think this is an even nicer screenshot. Could this be nicer? Maybe? Yeah, maybe this will be nicer. So I'll replace my screenshot actually with this one instead. We'll see. I hope it looks good in the documentation. Okay, so Bedrock is setting up your knowledge base now, and that can take up to 10 minutes. Hang in there. We have lots of cool things to do in the meantime. In the background, AWS is preparing the vector database, which includes chunking your documents and embedding them. The status of your knowledge base will change to available once it's ready. So lucky for us, we don't have to wait all 10 minutes. We have some cool things to do in the meantime. All right, so now we're in step 4. Welcome to step 4. You are about, I would say, halfway through the project now. So that's pretty cool. The knowledge base setup is a good chunk of the work. And now we're going to get access to AI models. These models will be the brains behind our chatbot. They'll convert your knowledge base's results into human-like text responses. Otherwise, your chatbot would just respond with chunks of text from your documents. That is not the best experience for anyone using the chatbot. Yeah, this is so true. So, in a chatbot, why do you even need an AI model? Why does the AI model exist? We already have the knowledge base that's going to be very good at finding the correct data that we've uploaded. So what's going to happen here is you would have a conversation with your chatbot, and you're going to say, what is next work? Or what are projects in this database? And it's just going to spew out the search results, which is like exact chunks of text that's stored inside OpenSearch, your vector store. That's not the best experience. You kind of want your chatbot to talk back to you like it's a person. That's the reason why the ChatGPT experience is so nice, because you can ask any question and it responds back, like in a very like a chat way, rather than just giving you random like pieces of text for you to put together. That's because there was the AI model to actually analyze all of the text from the search results, convert it into a response, and then it sends it to you. That's why the AI model is so important. If you'd like, how about we ask our handy little to say, give me an example conversation with my chatbot. If there wasn't an AI model versus if there was. What do we think is going to happen? Yeah, I would say this example isn't as detailed or as like obvious as we might want to see it. But it is true that the chatbot would just process your information and generate a more human-like response, whereas without the AI model, it just responds with a chunk of text from a document. Cool. So in this step, let's set up that AI model now. In this step, we will set up an AI model that will become the brains of the chatbot. This is going to help the chatbot respond with chat-like or human-like messages rather than raw chunks of text. Okay, shall we set up that AI model now? let us go into our Bedrock console. Oh, it seems like this is already set up, which is great. It didn't take 10 minutes for us. But you can go into Model Access here and just open it in a new tab. Cool. An AI model is a pre-trained AI model that you can use to generate text. Popular chatbots today, like ChatGPT, like Claude, use these models behind the scenes to generate text responses. If you're new to AI models, just know that ChatGPT somewhere has a brain, and that brain is the AI model. And then why do we need AI models anyway? You can think of vector search as a searching function for your knowledge base. It's like the magnifying glass that searches for the data, and an AI models is what translates those results into a chat message. So let's explain that too. AI models are important for my chatbot because they're what? They're the translator of my knowledge base's search results into human-like text. Without AI models, our chatbot would only respond with chunks of text from our documents, which isn't the best user experience. All done. Great work, team. What do you think, team? Do you think the AI model, is there one that you want to try, one that you want to use? Just wanted to call out that Salim says, I want my AI model with the new DeepSeek API. It is actually possible to access DeepSeek. I'm not so sure if it's in the Ohio region, actually. So when you're using the model, you're actually going to be using Bedrock to access the model. So you don't actually have to go into like a model provider like GPT or kind of like another marketplace like Olama to find it. You can use Bedrock to get straight to the model. So we're going to see that in action now. I'll wait another second for any other questions. Great. So now that we're in the model access page, you're going to see that you have a whole page of all different kinds of models that you can have access to. Right now, these are some base models, and you can actually even access this big list of different kinds of AI models and where they're available in this page. It's crazy to me that I don't think there's a single region with with access to every single model. So you really have to play the region game when you're doing this, because as you might notice, like so many regions, it's more of a no than a yes. And that's like the reason why we're using Ohio, because it's actually one of the regions where it actually has the models that we're wanting to use. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy, crazy. Oregon is a great region as well because it has access to a lot of the models. Okay. So here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to enable access to models for yourself. So I don't think my page shows this in the best way because I already have access. And unfortunately, I couldn't revert my page or my console back to the way it was, because once you grant access, you can't really remove access. But what you're going to see is you're going to see this, you're going to see a page for enabling specific models. You're going to see a button for that. And then you're going to want to click on that button to get to this page where you can actually select like the models that you want to enable. Now for this project, you're just going to need to enable 3. So you're going to want to enable Titan Text Embeddings v2. So this is the one that you already have. And then you're going to want to enable Llama 3.18b instruct. You don't actually need this one. And then Llama 3.3 70b instruct. So 1, 2, 3 models you would want to enable. Cool. And then you can like submit that and done. You can see that I have an error here because the moment you have access to a Llama model, you can't actually remove access to it anymore. Like I was trying to remove access to this, but I just got a harsh reminder that we can't actually remove this. So that's okay. How do we know which models to choose is another question that you might ask. You know, because just now we just went straight ahead to like, okay, let's pick this one, let's pick this one, let's shop around. Yeah, let's get Titan Text Embeddings v2. If you're wondering, how did you know which ones to pick? Very, very simple reasons. Titan Text Embeddings v2 is the embeddings model, and we would have come across it when we set up our knowledge base. We had to select an embedding model, and this was the embedding model we chose. So this is going to be the model that actually converts your text into numbers. And then for meta, the reason why we're choosing Llama 3.370b and 3.18b is so that we can compare 2 different models, but also because Llama is an open source AI model. So for us, what that means is when it's open source, it's a lot more affordable. And you might be thinking, oh, like this is where we might get charged, and that's correct. So how Bedrock pricing works is it charges based on your use of the AI models that you grant access to. Cool. Okay. To get access to AI models in Bedrock, we had to visit the model access page and request access explicitly. AWS needs explicit access because why does AWS need explicit access? Well, they will need explicit access because some AI model providers have extra forms or rules if you were using them, if you wanted to use them. And AWS needs to check for availability. Great. What models did you select and how are they different? The 3 models we selected were, each model serves a different purpose. That's true. The 3 models we selected were Titan Text Embeddings v2 Each model serves a different purpose. I just realized I almost forgot to mention that we also chose Llama 3.18b and Llama 3.3 70b. Those are the other models we chose. Each model serves a different purpose. Titan model for embedding our documents or our data, and the Llama models for conversing with our chatbot, i.e., they'll convert data into responses. Cool. So we definitely have the right models here. So we have the Titan Text Embeddings v2. If you want to double check, you definitely can. So we have Titan Text Embeddings v2. Is that right? Yes. Llama 3.18b Instruct. Is that right? Cool. That's what we've got. And Llama 3.3 70b Instruct. Do we have that? Nice. Yes, we do. Okay, so once you have all of that checked, we can move on. You will notice that you probably have a slightly different flow from me because I've already have access to these, but when we submit or when we accept that in that final page, there is a little banner about terms and conditions for using these models. As a heads up, this is how much it costs to use these models. It really will cost you about less than 1 cent to create and use your chatbot in this project. So we have 70b Instruct costing way less than 1 cent for 1,000 tokens, which is about 800 words in a conversation. And in this one, the embeddings model is so small as well. And it's about just this amount for every 800 words in the documents you upload. Cool. So take a screenshot showing the models you have access to, and we can go back to our chatbot right afterwards. You can even fold this if you like to focus your screenshot on Amazon and Llama. Nice, so good. I'm really excited to have the AI models locked in now because now we're going to sync up our knowledge base. Knowledge base done, AI models done. Surely that means we're ready to chat with our chatbot? Not yet, not quite. Hold your horses. We still need to synchronize our data from our S3 bucket into our knowledge base. Creating the knowledge base sets up the infrastructure for your chatbot to use, but the data actually isn't inside the knowledge base yet. We simply kind of built the library, but we haven't put in any books inside yet. So our knowledge base is kind of empty. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing in this step, which is to fill in this library and make sure there are books inside. In this step, we will sync our data between our knowledge base and S3 so that I would say we will sync our data between our knowledge base and S3 so that our knowledge base actually has information stored. Right now, our knowledge base is created, but it's also still empty. Okay, head back to your Bedrock tab where you're going to notice that your knowledge base is done creating now, so that looks great. And on the right hand side of the console, you can see that there is like a select model button. So let's click into that one. Let's click into Meta, and let's click into Llama 3.1 80B instruct. Sorry, this should say 8B instruct. And then click apply. Okay, we've applied it now. And as you might notice, hold on a second, this is still grayed out. We can't even text a message in here yet. Why can't we chat with our chatbot yet? We literally have the knowledge base and we have the AI model in here now. We should be ready, right? What's going on? Okay, so what's going on is that while you've created the knowledge base, you haven't synced the knowledge base with your data source. So your knowledge base doesn't have any information inside. It really is just a reminder that your knowledge base is like an infrastructure for your chatbot. Your Bedrock has created a knowledge base that's connected to a data source, the S3 bucket where you've put in your raw documents. And then there's also the vector store, the vector store which is storing all of the process data. But the data hasn't actually moved from your S3 bucket yet. It's just that you've created a knowledge base with 2 arms, and the data hasn't actually flowed from S3 to your knowledge base and to OpenSearch yet. So let's mention this. Even though we've already connected our S3 bucket when creating the knowledge base, we still need to sync our data. This is because syncing is what actually moves the data from S3 and into OpenSearch serverless. Great. So let's select done. I would also mention that right now it means the knowledge base doesn't have any information inside. So I should mention that. I'm running low on characters, so maybe I'll say, even though we've already connected our S3 bucket when creating the knowledge base, we still need to sync our data. Which will actually move the data from S3 and into our knowledge base and OpenSearch serverless. Currently, the knowledge base is empty. Cool. So on the right hand side of the page, we're going to select Go to Data Sources, and then we're going to select your data source like this. And then we're going to select that handy little sync button. Cool. So you might notice we are now syncing our data. It could take several minutes to hours to sync. But for us, that is already done. That's already completed. That was super fast. Sometimes syncing can take much longer. Awesome. So what happens when we sync? Syncing involves 3 steps. There's ingesting, which is where Bedrock is going to retrieve the data from the data source, S3. There's processing, where Bedrock is going to chunk and embed the data. And then there's storing, which is when Bedrock is going to store the process data in the vector store, which is OpenSearch serverless. So It usually does take about 5 minutes for syncing to happen, but I'm very, very impressed that syncing literally finished in about 10 seconds just now. That was really cool. So let's take a screenshot of our sync. And a big shout out to Pari in the chat saying, great learning, thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. And Salim, thank you so much for saying that this is good information. I'm very glad to hear it. And Ankur, right now we are doing a project on Bedrock. Cool. So the sync process involves 3 key steps. These steps are ingesting, i.e. Bedrock takes the data from S3, processing, i.e. Bedrock chunks and embeds the data, and storing, i.e. Bedrock stores the processed data in the vector store, which is OpenSearch serverless for us. Very, very good. I'm still shocked by how quickly syncing happened. I'm like so caught off guard by that, my goodness. Okay, let's keep on going by chatting with our chatbot in our final step. Whew. You'll see how it generates personalized responses about your data, and let's dive into it. So we're gonna first test our chatbot, and then we might troubleshoot like a few errors with the AI model as well. Let's do this step by step together. In this step, we will test our chatbot and troubleshoot a few errors with our AI model. Okay, inside your knowledge base, find that test knowledge base section again over here, and now we can finally enter in our first question. Shall we chat with our chatbot? It should have it should have so much knowledge about our documentation, so I'm pretty excited to start chatting. Let's enter in hello. Hello, I'm here to help answer your questions based on the provided search results. What's your question about? What is Nextwork? Nextwork is a platform that allows users to build and run workflows using AI and automation tools. It provides a free trial of 14 days of access and the ability to create up to 5 workflows. This is not true. This is basically our AI model giving a false response, potentially 2 reasons. 1, it confused Nextwork with N8N, which is a platform that's inside one of our documentation. Maybe the AI model could be better. Maybe there's something wrong with the chunking, which means we chunked way too big of a paragraph that now details that are in the same paragraph gets confused for each other. Like if Nextwork and N8N are in the same paragraph, it might assume that it is one thing. So, interesting response. Wow. Interesting. It seems like it is because there is N8N and Nextwork in the same paragraph. So it starts to think that it is the same entity, which is not a good thing. And it's cool to see and hear the source chunk, which actually shows you, I guess, the raw form of the data inside OpenSearch right now. Okay then, that's not very cool. But let's see if we can, let's select our model again. And let's say Who is Natasha? Oh, let's try that again. I think I had that error because I had looked into the details of one of the messages, and that actually confused our knowledge base and made it think that we were trying to change some settings and also make new messages at the same time. It doesn't quite like that, which is fine. Let us ask again. Who is Natasha? Oh, there we go. This is error number 1 with our model. So this model, Llama 3.18b, triggered an error. It said, invocation of model with on-demand throughput isn't supported. Retry your request with the ID or ARN of an inference model that contains inference profile that contains this model. Who understood that from the first go? Because I didn't. This is quite a confusing error message to get, but it's completely normal to get it. In fact, you're kind of supposed to get it. If you didn't get this error straight away, like me, you just have to send a few more messages, maybe even clear your chat, try again, and you're eventually going to run into it. This error happens because the AI model you're using, 3.18b, doesn't support something called on-demand inference. Inference is the process of using an AI model to create your responses. And there are 2 different ways to run an inference. On-demand inference, which means that your model starts up and processes your data on demand, only when you need it. Pre-provisioned inference means you're constantly running your model. It is constantly running in the background. And it's just that when you send your chatbot a message, your already running model is going to be like, oh, there's a task. Like, I'm just going to go do it now. It's more expensive because you're paying a little bit more to use a pre-provisioned inference. But when it's pre-provisioned, AWS is able to service your requests even better, even faster, because you've already paid for that model to be running. And AWS is already running that model in the background for you. Whereas it's very, very hard for AWS to properly serve everyone if all the models were available on demand. So because of that, some models aren't available on demand, whereas others are available. Usually older or more complex AI models, which is like the 3.18b, would need pre-provisioned inference. But more advanced AI models, like the 3.370b, the newer one, it can handle on-demand inference because they're less resource intensive to start up. And who's going to care about whether or not something is resource intensive? AWS would, okay? Because AWS is the one that's managing all of these resources in the background for us. So if it notices that it can easily and without a lot of resources start up a model, instantly on demand, yeah, of course it's going to let you request that model on demand or use inference on demand. But if it notices that it's going to be quite heavy or intense on its servers and on its resources to offer, an older model like this on demand, then it's not going to give you on-demand access. You're going to have to use it pre-provisioned. For us, what we're going to do about this is we're going to click on that pencil icon and we're going to switch models. Instead of 3.18b, let us go for 3.370b, that's the one we want, and see how it says on demand for inference, whereas this one needed a cross-region inference, which is something else. But this is a great sign. It seems like it offers on-demand inference, and let's click apply. Now let's ask another question. What is next work? So good! This is a much better response. Nextwork is an organization that provides projects and resources for learning and development with the goal of helping people find jobs they love. Oh, I love that! Thank you so much, Bedrock. Not a bad summary at all. We will mention a quick recap of what we've learned about the two models, and then we'll keep on going. Hello to Cigar, by the way, waving hi. We initially tried to test our chatbot using Llama 3.18b as the AI model, but it triggered an error. It was not available on demand. We had to switch to Llama 3.3 70B because it was offered on demand by AWS, since it's a newer model that's more efficient as well. All done. Okay, so we did see this our model's response on Nextwork, which is great. So we can take a screenshot of the response to our query like this. And let's upload that. Now let's try asking a question that's not related to your data. How do you make a cup of tea? This is not data or information that's inside our knowledge base. We have nothing that's about making tea. Technically, an AI model that's in like ChatGPT, that's trained on lots of data on the internet, that can search the internet, they would know. But for us, we only want our AI model to know about data about us. So the ideal answer we're going to get from our chatbot here is that it doesn't know how to make a cup of tea. Let's see. Sorry, I am unable to assist you with this request. Look, AI models could be really smart, but if you don't give it the right information, it's not going to know how to make a cup of tea. So this was the perfect response. When we asked about topics unrelated to our knowledge base's data, our chatbot responds that it cannot help us with this request. This proves that the AI model, or our chatbot, only knows the information that we gave it. It won't know even common knowledge outside. I think what I'm trying to say here is like that the fact that it won't even know things that are like common sense or common knowledge if it's not inside the knowledge base. Okay. When we asked about topics unrelated to our knowledge base's data, our chatbot cannot help us with the request. This proves that the chatbot only knows information that we give it. It won't know anything that's outside of our K-base. Okay, final little experiment is that we can take a look at a setting at the top of the chat, which is to switch generate responses off. Ooh, what are we going to do now? So now let's ask another question. What AWS services has the student worked on? What are we going to see? Look at that. Isn't it so interesting? So the knowledge base now comes back to us with chunks of text. Can you guess what generate responses means now? Generate responses basically means whether or not your AI model is going to be involved and generate a chat response based on the search results. When we turned it off, we were saying, AI model, get out of here. I'm just going to hear straight from the knowledge base. So the AI model is not even in the chatbot anymore. It's kind of like just went to bed. So we're going to hear directly from the knowledge base, and it gives us like chunks of data. Interesting, eh? So do you think this is do you think this response is easy to understand? Or do you prefer it when the AI model was there to summarize it for you? Cool. And when we turn it back on, okay, let's turn generate responses back on. Select model, make sure you select your 3.370B instruct model. Apply that and ask the same question. What AWS services has the student worked on? What are we going to see? Much better responses. Great work to our AI model for being able to go through all of the responses or like the search results from our knowledge base and convert it into something that's so much easier to understand. The student has worked on AWS services including Lambda, DynamoDB, S3, CloudFront, API Gateway, SDK. Wow, impressive. Okay, so let us mention that in our documentation, shall we? You can also turn off the generate responses setting to see the raw chunks of data directly from our knowledge base. When we tested this, our chatbot gave a list of 5 paragraphs to answer a question, whereas the AI model will convert it to a sentence. What do you think of this? Do you have any question about generate responses? This is your chance to ask anything. Hello, hello. We've got a question. Congratulations for the excellent content. Thank you so much. I have a question. How can I create a web scraper with AI but using user interaction? Oh, very, very good question. I would highly recommend checking out our project on building browser automation with web UI. So that project will help you with seeing how you can use AI and web scrapers that combined AI and user interaction. Browser automation is a great project for that. I don't think we technically did web scraping in that project, but you can actually configure the tool yourself to make that happen. So maybe that will be the extra challenge that you have to take. Thank you so much for stopping by. So well done on building your personalized chatbot. You should be so proud of yourself. That was a fun journey, wasn't it? Going from a zip file of documents to a fully functional chatbot. So with this, you've made an awesome start on what you can do with RAG and AI. If you like, this is your chance to level up your chatbot's responses and make your chatbot even smarter. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to use some advanced techniques to help your chatbot give more detailed, even more contextual responses. Let's jump into the secret mission together and dive in. Cool. In this secret mission, we will adjust some advanced settings to make our chatbot respond with even more detailed, accurate, and meaningful. To make our chatbot's responses even more detailed, accurate, and meaningful. Great! So let's start by seeing how our chatbot performs with another simple query. We're going to ask our chatbot what projects are in this database. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, it says I am unable to assist you with this request. What projects has Natasha done? Seems like it doesn't really know how to answer us. Well, that's a bit of a shame. Here in our project guide, we did get a response. If you didn't get a response, if you got something like this, that's totally okay as well. In fact, this is an even better error or starting point to have, because we definitely know that in this database, it's a whole collection of documentation about projects. So your AI model and your knowledge base should really be able to answer this question. How can we make it answer this question and give it in a very meaningful way? So we're going to modify our chatbot settings. And in the chat right now, I'd love to invite you to suggest what are some settings that you might think, you might guess is going to make a difference. What do you think we're actually going to change in our settings to impact the responses? Okay, so in our chatbot settings, we're going to head into the filters icon, just right over here. And then we're going to click on source chunks. So this icon takes us to our configurations page, which is where we can see how your chatbot is set up. And in our case, we're going to edit source chunks, which basically says how many search results can inform a response. Do you see how this response was informed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chunks of text? 5 is the default, which is pretty good. It's good to be informed by 5 different paragraphs of something like the services the students worked on. But hey, I think we could do much better, because our documentation and our knowledge base contains 10 different documents. It would be pretty cool if we would have at least 10 different chunks, because, for example, for what AWS services the students worked on, if you were informed by 10 different chunks, surely that means you'd be able to grab more services that the students worked on, to give a more detailed response. So let's change that to 10. And let's go down into generation prompt, which is basically a prompt that tells your agent how it's supposed to respond to you. So this is the default prompt. You are a question answering agent. I will provide you with a set of search results. The user will provide you with a question. Your job is to answer the user's question using only information from the search results. If the search results do not contain information that can answer the question, please state that you could not find an exact answer. Just because the user asserts a fact does not mean it is true. Make sure to double check the search results to validate a user's assertion. So cool, thank you so much Bedrock for giving our chatbot this default prompt already. And we're gonna level it up. Okay, so we're gonna level it up by saying this piece of context. We're gonna say, for context, this knowledge base contains AWS and AI projects. This student will be asking questions about the AWS services they've used, skills they've learned, and a recap of learnings from these projects. Where possible, always mention skills the student learned from their projects, even if the prompt did not directly ask for it. Yeah, we put in something a bit specific here, mentioning the skills the students learned, even if they didn't ask for it, just so that we can see the impact of this prompt on our chat. Okay. So with that in mind, let us answer a few questions about what we've just learned and then move on into seeing our chatbot using these new settings. Okay. So the first question was about the source chunk setting, and let us explain that. So source chunks are the number of chunks of text that the knowledge base will return a query. This will improve our chatbot's responses by giving our AI model more data to use. Great. And then the next one was about the custom prompt. We also added a custom prompt that tells our chatbot, what does it tell our chatbot to do? We also added a custom prompt that tells our chatbot to always respond by mentioning skills that the students learned, even if the student didn't ask for it directly. We also gave context that the database contains documentation for projects. Cool. Okay, so now let's rerun the queries and compare our responses. Try asking again what projects are in this database. I'm so nervous. I hope it works. What do you think is going to happen now? I realize we still need to select a model here, so let me select a model for us. Okay, and let us ask again. What projects has Natasha done? Very good. Oh my gosh. Look at how detailed the answer is. That is really impressive. The projects in this database include building a 3-tier web app, deploying a backend with Kubernetes, practicing guard duty skills, by attacking a web app called OWASP Juice Shop. These are all projects that we have in Nixwork. There are projects related to setting up web UI agents, uploading images to an S3 bucket, creating a prompt template. That's so true. This is all stuff that we've done. Even more projects. Whoa. That was really cool. I really like that you can see that it actually is referencing skills within this response, even though we didn't really talk about skills learned. Because Instead of saying the projects in this database include and like just the title of the projects, it actually uses action words to mention that there are skills here. Practicing guard duty skills, deploying a backend, building a 3-tier web app, setting up UI agents. Like these are all action words that are great for referring to skills. So really, really good work by our chatbot for responding to these straight away. Oh my gosh, never mind. I just realized I was supposed to click save changes and I hadn't even saved it. Oh, that's so funny. I hadn't even saved my changes to the prompt, but it already referenced skills. So maybe that happened not because I prompted it, but because it already knew to talk about skills without me adding it to the prompt template. That's pretty buzzy. Do you think that the response is going to change again? I was wrong, clearly. I thought like you were the chatbot was mentioning skills because it was in the prompt, but clearly it was already mentioning all of this without us saving our changes, so without this actually adding to the prompt. And it would have already done this just because we updated our source chunks from 5 to 10. Wow, cool, look at this. So now we've saved our changes finally, and it's generating a new response using the new prompt template. These projects demonstrate skills such as, so it's a lot clearer now. Yeah, I find it really interesting that actually the text is so similar. Like the keywords are similar, it's just that the structure is slightly different. The chatbot was already inherently talking about skills. Maybe I didn't even need to add it to the prompt. Cool, right? Isn't that so cool? So let's take a screenshot of the improved chatbot response and finish up our project. After adjusting the source chunks and the generation prompt, our chatbot's response became so much more detailed. The chatbot would talk about skills we've learned, and it would also talk about, I would say, and used 10 or more examples within the response. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed that one too. Nice work leveling up your chatbot today. And if you want to do more before you wrap up this project, you could also challenge yourself with some of the other chatbot configurations, like guardrails. Over here is a lot of fun. It's about saying like what you can't talk about. And then there's also, I think, another one about query modification, which is a technique that breaks down your question into smaller, more manageable sub-questions, which apparently creates better responses. Happy building, and well done on today's project. Let us wrap up by deleting our resources, and we have 3 key things to delete today. We have the knowledge base, the S3 bucket, and the vector store to delete. Let's start by deleting the knowledge base. So in your Bedrock console, head to knowledge base, which is here, which we're actually at the right place. Oh wow, we have Keziah in the chat. Hey Keziah, I hope you're doing well. Wow, it's so great to hear from you. I hope you've been well. Keziah says, keep up the amazing work that you guys are doing. Thank you so much, Keziah. I remember you stopped by last year as you were preparing for a cert. So it's great to see you here again. All right, So for our knowledge base, we're ready to delete it. So let's select it, select delete, and type delete in the box here. Notice this little message, by the way. The underlying vector store itself is not deleted, only the data. So we still need to delete the vector store. Let's go and do that. All right, it's off to delete, and you can always go in here and search for OpenSearch. To delete the data. So let's go in here, select, whoops, I think I actually went home. You can select this menu icon and click into collections to delete your collection, which basically is your vector search. They call it a vector search, which is the same thing as like a vector store from our knowledge basis point of view. So let's type in confirm to confirm we want to delete it. And lastly is our S3 bucket. So let's go into S3, find the bucket that contains all your documents, and we'll empty it first. So type in permanently delete in the input field. And next up, you can delete the entire bucket itself. Let's delete that, and we're all done. That was so fast, actually. I think deleting the resources was a lot faster than expected. But now that that's done, we can take all of this off. That feels pretty satisfying, eh? All done. So let us wrap up with a small note around what we've learned today. Services we used in this project were Amazon Bedrock, S3, and OpenSearch Serverless. Key concepts we learned include, what are some key concepts that we learned? I would say we learned about knowledge bases, requesting access to AI models, how AI models generate responses, I would say actually how chatbots generate responses, i.e. AI models plus knowledge base. And vector store, I think, was a huge one too. This project took us approximately 1.5 hours, including project demo time. Or is it 2 hours? Oh, it's closer to 2 hours now. This project took us approximately 2 hours. The most challenging part was definitely, I would say, running into errors was the error with our AI models and understanding on demand versus pre-provisioned inference. I thought that was just a buzzy concept to learn, but you know, what about you? Which one would you say was the hardest part? It was most rewarding to see our chatbot's responses. I would say it was also most rewarding to use source chunks, actually, to update our source chunks. I would say it was most rewarding to level up our chatbot's responses. That was a really fun secret mission. Thanks for doing this project today. Why did you do it? Did it meet your goals? Share it here. So we did this project today I would say we did this project today to learn more about Bedrock and RAG specifically. This project definitely met our goals. Awesome to learn both over a hands-on project. That was so much fun. So we'll select done, and congratulations, that's a wrap. You've just built a very powerful RAG chatbot using Amazon Bedrock. As you can see, do you feel like you understand this architecture diagram a lot more now? We had your documents stored in an S3 bucket, and then when we sync the data gets taken to your knowledge base where it's chunked, and then we embedded the data, and then the embedded data, which means that each chunked piece of data has like a list of vectors or embeddings, a list of numbers, that all of that data and all of the embedding and the numbers get stored in OpenSearch Serverless. So when you talk with your chatbot, what happens is your AI model interacts with you, and your AI model interacts with the knowledge base. It tells the knowledge base, hey, our user wants to know about this information, let's go look for it. Your knowledge base says, say less, let us go look for it. Goes down into OpenSearch Serverless, tells OpenSearch Serverless, hey, can you retrieve the most relevant data, to this question. OpenSearch Serverless returns all of that data, and then your AI model translates that data into a chat response back to you. Wow, you've learned all of that in just 2 hours or even less? That's impressive. You should be so proud of yourself. You've learned how to set up a knowledge base, an AI model in Bedrock. You've used S3 to store and manage your chatbot's data, and you learned how to test your RAG chatbot. So well done. You really are an AI machine learning pro in the making, and let's finish this mission together. Woo! That was so good. And in the meantime, thank you so much to everyone saying hello. Hello, oh my key. We have JK saying hello as well. We got Brian saying hello as well. And Brian, on your question about cloud computing jobs, we actually have a lot of content about this in our YouTube channel, so I'd recommend checking that out. We have in our YouTube channel, we have videos about tips for getting into a cloud career. Thank you so much for saying I am in 4th Sem and love your videos. Ooh, what is 4th Sem? So good to meet you. Let us download our documentation now. First, you can save your documentation into your portfolio, which means you can find your portfolio. And this is my portfolio of projects. And it's added into here now. Turn your data into an AI chatbot. Yeah, it's so nice. So let's open this, and it's now stored in here. Isn't that so good? It looks pretty good, our documentation. Nice. That looks great. I'm quite proud of that. And you can also save it as a PDF, like this. Very good. And let us open that up. Because with your PDF, you can post about it on LinkedIn like this. Okay, so you have your LinkedIn post template, and then you can go into tagging next work. Ooh, I think that was the wrong next work. There we go. Tag next work, and then you can also it seems like seems like we couldn't find the option to add our documentation, but we can now. Join me at nextwork.org. Okay, we can take it out now. So let's click on that X, select more, add document, choose the file, and of course, choose your newest project. So this is about RAG Chatbot with Amazon Bedrock. So good. All right. Now that it's done, you can see that there's already a pre-filled LinkedIn post that you can use. You've just built a personalized AI chatbot using Amazon Bedrock, and here's what you did. Very nice. The coolest part, your chatbot only responds with information in your documents. It won't make up facts or use external knowledge. And you have this awesome documentation to boot. Beautiful work, everyone. Well done again on completing this project. You should be so proud of yourself. That was a fantastic achievement. We'll see you in the next project. If you have any other AI topics you want to learn, add them to the chat, add them to the comments. This is so much fun. All right, everyone. We'll be wrapping it up here. Oh, and if you have any questions or if you get stuck, just know that we are in community.nextwork.org. Hope to see you there. See ya.